Well, happy Friday! Today we are going to be talking about interpreting function graphs. And we started this a little bit yesterday, and today we're going to kind of start talking about how to make a story that kind of goes along with what's happening in the picture. All right, so on the left-hand side, we know our distance from home. We talked a little bit the other day about how that anytime you are at the bottom level, you are home. So in this particular example, we are home two different times, at the start and at the end. Now, the farthest we ever get from home is right here. This point here, it's the highest on the graph. That's our farthest from home because it's the highest. Not because it's the farthest right, but because it's the highest up. Now, along the bottom, left to right, that's just time, and time keeps on going. There's no start or stopping point to that. It's just when we stopped keeping track of this time. All right, so what we want to do is we want to give an explanation as to what's happening at each stage of the graph. So let's start with step one, or part one there, that little portion of the graph. Here are some things we know about that portion. We know that we started at home. All right, that's what's definitely happening in that portion of the graph. We started at home, and what else is happening? Well, we are moving away. We're getting farther from home as time goes on. All right, now let's look at section 2. This section that's completely flat. All right, anytime we've got a section that's completely flat, what that means is that we've simply stopped moving. We are staring at the window, or we're stopped at a friend's house, or we're at the grocery store, but we're no longer moving, other than maybe, small area. But we're not moving as far as distance from home. All right, number 3. Now we're moving again. And again, which way are we moving? Well, we're moving away from the bottom of the graph, so we're moving away from home. So again, we are now moving away from home. All right, and then the 4th section, the part that's going down. All right, because it's going down, we're heading back towards home. Remember, home's the bottom. So we're heading towards home. So now we are moving toward home. And at the end, we actually make it all the way to the bottom. All right, ending at home. So we start moving towards home, and we actually end when we get there. So again, that's the idea today, is can you describe things in a real-world situation based off of the way the graph looks? All right, now there's one other thing to consider just besides which direction are we going, and that's how steep we are going. All right, so in this particular example here, we can see that both parts 1, the section here, and part 2, they are both headed towards home. They're both going down from left to right. All right, another thing that's different is the starting point. All right, so notice for number 1, we are starting far from home. Get rid of this one, give myself some more room. And what else is happening? Well, the other one's going down, and so is this one. So we're starting far from home, and we're headed home. We're moving down. But what's the difference between the two? Well, the first part, we're not going down very quickly. It's pretty flat, but we're still heading down. The second part there, we're headed down quickly. It's very steep. So when we're starting far from home, and then we're headed home slowly, we are not getting close to home very quickly. We're still staying kind of far away from home even as time goes by. Whereas in number 2, this is us moving toward home. But notice that it's moving quickly, meaning that the graph got steeper. It took less time to cover more distance, or to cover the same distance. So for example, again, if you're looking at it, this distance right here, this height, distance from home, look, we only went a little tiny bit of distance with step 1, and it took us a long time to do it. But in step 2, look how much farther distance we covered. We moved a lot farther, and we did it in a much shorter amount of time. So that's one way we know if we're moving slow or quick. If the line's almost flat, because it means we've almost stopped, but not quite. we're just going slow. If the line is really steep, almost straight up and down, that is us moving extremely quickly. If you're curious, a straight up and down line would mean that you can travel through time. You can get from one spot to another spot with no time passing, kind of like teleporting, so not really possible. Shouldn't see any straight up and down lines in any of these graphs. That wouldn't make any sense. All right, your work is a similar type of thing today. Good luck.